Okay, so here's part two. I was saying that, you know, the white man did not know that I was going to be Christ. Okay, he did not know if my dad was going to die of a disease. He did not know if my dad was going to have any kids when my father came to America. They probably did not know who my dad was very well when they came across him. Okay, only God knew the time. And you see the woman and the dragon in Revelation. When I was born, it was too late for them to say, hey, but we knew too, because of their science. No, they did not know. Only God knew. Only God knew that I was going to be alive right now. The white man did not know. The Jew did not know. The occultist did not know. The scientist did not know. Only God knew the time. And it's miraculous when you consider all of human history that the top martial artist ever possible was born around the time that tech breeding and ill-gotten gains have ruined everything. What are the odds that the top martial artist there ever will be was born at that time? Well, some might say, well, tech breeding and ill-gotten gains prevent anyone from being a valid martial artist in the future. There's no other way it could be. Not necessarily. It was not out of the realm of possibility that it could have been that somebody long ago, okay, was better than me, but that couldn't be. I've reached a degree of martial art prowess that no one could possibly have reached before. And it has to do with evolution, the way people were shaped before. How are black people shaped 500 years ago? You know, how were the slaves shaped? What kind of nutrition did they have available? When you look at all the factors that goes into my world record speed in my martial art challenge in its pure form, before all the editing and all the mischievous Enki type of thinking, deity of mischief, all the satanic deception that they have done to confuse the situation, you see clearly that nobody had the resources, they didn't have the genes, they didn't have the romantic intensity, moral, mental, spiritual, and romantic intensity. They didn't have the perfect combination of things. It's the reason why there's only one Earth in our solar system, for example. There's only one person in all of history that had the perfect combination of things to be logically the top martial arts ever. And logic is how God communicates. One of the main ways, if not the main ways, God communicates. Jesus said, why don't you judge for yourselves what is right? Why don't you judge for yourself whether it was possible for somebody to be better than me 500 years ago, 400 years ago, 30 years ago, 60 years ago? It is impossible. Impossible. For them to have the optimum height, weight, intensity, what have you, okay, with the nutrition, with shoes, with the parents, with the breeding, okay, hybrid, the most high. It is impossible, impossible for anyone before to have been like my dad, before my dad, and it's impossible for anyone before to have been like me. My dad is the optimum type of person to breed the last Messiah, and I am the optimum type of person to be the last Messiah. The odds that someone, there was some mutation that magically put everything together in a way that nutrition and a lot of stuff like that don't matter, okay, are so astronomically against everyone else in the past that it is laughable to believe it. You're more likely to have green aliens born into the human race that were 5,000 feet tall than have someone who was better at me than martial arts that lived before. It's impossible. All right, next point. Point number 5. One cannot rely on evil people and still be sane. Okay, so why am I reliable? Well, why are they not reliable? You can't rely on evil people, corrupt people in the government, in the churches, in the mosques, the synagogues, the temples. You can't rely on spiritual gurus and corporate heads and da-da-da. You can't rely on evil people and still be sane. If you follow Freddy Krueger and you live your life following him, no matter how much denial you slip into, no matter how much you try not to think about it, all you're doing is throwing off your brain, and your brain function is thrown off enough that you're not living in reality, and being insane is basically when you don't live in reality. So everyone else is on the spectrum of insane when you think about it. One cannot rely on evil people and still be sane. Point A. So point 5A. So I have A through F. A. Out of the colonial governing tree of white supremacy came LGBT supremacy. You cannot rely on the LGBT community, their leaders, or anyone else, and still be sane, because it comes from the colonial tree of white supremacy. B. After white supremacy subdued all the governments in the world, LGBT supremacy is rising all over the world. I wonder if that's a coincidence. C. People are not allowed to publicly talk about it unless they are controlled opposition. D. African leaders, Muslims, and LGBT Nazi types were allowed to speak on it to get people to unite against any more sincere people in their groups. The global orders are basically white and Jewish occult themed social orders. So you need to see that in people. See it in the corporations. See it in the people allowed to be rich. The 22.5 millionaires and billionaires in this country allowed to be rich. Okay? They're in the spirit of the alliance, the unholy alliance of these corrupt, these particular corrupt white Jews and LGBT families and groupings and networks. Okay? The social orders, social groupings, social networks. E. Therefore, one must know that anyone who upholds white social norms can't be trusted. This also includes the church's New Age groups and heavy metal groups, right? They're upholding white social norms in their own way. They're like, dude, we're white, dude. Okay? Now, I'm not racist. I'm a moral supremacist, not a racist supremacist. Excuse me, not a racial supremacist. If a white chick came to me today and she was gorgeous and she was a suitable helper, okay, then I'd have her get her tubes tied and I'd marry her. If that was if I had enough time to. Okay? I'm not a racial supremacist. My mother's white. I'm part white. I am a moral supremacist. But these are the facts. Point number F. When one does not speak on these things logically, they become a part of the problem. Eventually, I will show that only I am reliable, but for now, we can say that at best, only a handful of people could possibly be reliable. Okay? So I will show that only I am reliable by the end of this video. But when you look at it as somebody who doesn't know what's going on, by now you should know that. But let's say you're not quite convinced at this point. You certainly know when you look at the world, based on the things I've highlighted to you, that there's no other way to look at it. That other people aren't reliable. You can't rely on the police. You can't rely on the military. You can't rely on other people who call themselves martial artists. On and on and on. You can't rely on anyone but me. But you might think, well, there might be a few other people somewhere somehow. We'll get to that. Okay, so point number 6. I talk about organized mass rape by deception honestly, and I've never come across anyone else who does. There's a difference between just saying guys are getting over and breaking down why they are masterfully and labeling it as an intolerable practice of rape by deception. So again, there's a difference between people just saying, well, yeah, that's the game. Guys are getting over. Yeah, people get over. And breaking it down masterfully and saying it is an intolerable process of rape by deception that you must do something about. And you must stop being complicit with. It creates a moral crisis that if you do not stand firm against it, you are complicit with it. There's a difference. Point number 7. I tell the truth about universal pinpoint and moral precision as a concept of trying to be morally precise based on the logic available and not selfishness or the psychological constructs conceptions. So not selfish conceptions of what moral precision might be, or the psychological construct, the liberal, the left-right paradigm, mainstream norms, countercultures, so on and so forth, all these other people's conceptions, right? They're mere human rules, customs, and traditions, and they are not, transcendent and true and purely true conceptions. For example, I'll give you an easy one. If somebody said, hey, you know what, that they wanted to sleep with someone else's wife once a week, and that everyone's sleeping with each other's wives, and they'll meet them halfway, and usually it happens about twice a week, but he wants to do it once a week. Should that person say, oh, that's fair enough, and that's moral precision to say it's fair enough, that's practical? No, moral precision says put morality first. So you say, no, you can't sleep with her at all, and I'm willing to die rather than allow you to do that. Okay, that's what the morally precise angle is. The morally precise stance in that situation is to say no. Not to say every other week or every other month or every other year, but no, never. That is the idea of moral precision. In some cases, it's clear cut. In some cases, it takes a lot more thinking. All right. Okay, so I also tell the truth about what the ideal person is, while no one else does, which includes my Royal African Falcon top martial arts order arguments. 8, I break down romantic justice while others won't. Okay, so what is romantic justice? What is romantic injustice, right? Has to do with being in the divine order. They won't admit that if you don't have a logical point of reference for ideal, and if you don't live following the King of Kings, okay, me, that you're then You don't have the mental clarity, the moral, mental, spiritual, and romantic clarity to truly have romance and live romantic justice. So all romantic relations you have are romantic injustice, and you're leading people by example to be romantically unjust. If you have any questions, write it down. Put in the comments. I want to shoot through the rest of this stuff. 9. I am honest about gang stalking, and it is obvious that I am not controlled opposition. 10. I do honest comparisons of people using countless pictures while others don't. Understanding others is a key form of intelligence and very useful when one analyzes the various aspects of social justice. So if you look up what existential, naturalist, intrapersonal, interpersonal, logical, mathematical, the forms of intelligence that go far beyond mere book smarts, which mean close to nothing. There's a reason why the word school is look spelled backwards. Okay, that you will see that it is very important to understand, right? Intrapersonal and interpersonal, to try to understand others, to understand others. Okay, so I do honest comparisons while others don't. Okay, point number 11. My focus, moral intensity arguments. Proverbs 4:18, the path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter to the full light of day. Okay, notice it says the path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter, right? More intense, brilliant, right? Ever brighter, more intensely bright till the full light of day. So if you're not moving toward moral intensity more and more as a result of the repetition of moral precision and moral intensity, okay, then you're not doing God's work. Because the righteous is, like we see in Proverbs 28, I want to say 28:1 or 28:2, it says, the wicked flee, though no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion, wherever that is in Proverbs. The righteous is interchangeable with godly. The righteous, the godly, the holy, it's all the same thing. The word righteous is more potent than people use in popular, than people would have you believe in popular culture. Okay, so my focus, moral intensity argument is like unseen everywhere else. Everyone else just wants you in a trance-like state, being the corporate state's puppet. 12. I make arguments in regards to persecution that others neglect. For example, I argue that part of being ideal is being a persecuted, morally precise hero, like we see in Paul's letters. All who wish to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. In Matthew 5, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Isaiah 28:17, for whatever reason, says that hail will sweep away your refuge to lie, and water will overthrow your hiding place. For whatever reason, hail is a play on words for ha-el, high lay, and ha-lie. The word water is a play on words for what ear and what air, right? What error, what error. Skywalking, right? What about the air? Okay, the skywalking, the core, the essence of the message from the heavens, right? The spiritual message, the spiritual evidence of the Creator and the heavens, as seen by the naked eye and by the sixth sense in the heavens, right? As perceived, as sensed. 13. Okay, so again, their lie is who's dating who, right? Ha-lay, lying about things, Anyway, 13. I use and insist on the true scale for a superior life, not Setian garbage, not satanic garbage, right? I use and insist on the true scale for a superior life, not the psychological construct devil garbage. 14. True Royal African Horus arguments versus vulture harpy Walking Dead arguments. So I tell the truth about what the divine order is and things of that nature. 15. My emphasis on explaining why they put a strong emphasis on the emasculation of the black man as uncontrolled opposition. Why some people say things like, well, they're emasculating us all, and ignore the significance of some black people being the most masculine of all people. Okay. Historically, naturally, what happened. 16. Almost no one else is explaining that there is a sick, circus joker, Maka-like spirit turning other people out, right, and running other martial artists. Okay, so there's some kind of circus spirit, not just Mr. Ken and Karate Nerd on YouTube, but all the Hollywood actors, all the martial arts schools these days, they're on some kind of sick joker circus spirit. 17. I emphasize outdoor sparring as the true way to compete. No one else I have come across has done that. 18. I have many videos about morals and how one must be crazy to give others, especially oppressors, the benefit of the doubt. 18. I explained their attempts to get me to take on a new identity.